All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the BKBK podcast where sports and the culture collide and the New York Jets reign supreme. I'm Brandon Phillips, and we also have Kerry Taylor, Brian Taylor, and Captain Kyle McKenna.
Yo, yo.
Lots to cover today. All right. The last time the team BKBK saw all of you, when we say you, we mean our loving audience.
Yeah.
Our New York Jets coaching position was in limbo. But now we have someone, and it looks like McCagnon brought in a wide-eyed, bushy-tailed young coach.
Very
Yes,
wide-eyed.
pun intended. Yes,
Oh
the pun
my
was
God.
definitely intended.
Googly eye.
Not bushy-eyed, but googly-eyed.
Very
Huh?
googly. Very googly.
Instant meme.
Yes, totally. All right, you know what? Since we're in it, let's talk about it. Oh, Kerry, wow, Kerry, you're funny. What if he came in zombie-eyed and bushy-tailed? I don't know about the zombie eyes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He was close,
Game
though.
of Thrones,
was close?
out here.
He was close
Oh,
to
look at
zombie
that.
eye.
Hey, Kerry. I got you beat, though. I got you beat.
Uh-oh.
Oh, don't do it. No. You just scared everyone.
I still can't believe that's real.
Yeah, I showed that to my
God.
son. Every once in a while, we go back on the Twitter with you and Goldberg.
Oh, my God.
And he bugs out on that.
That's how I pulled my wife. She fell in love with me after that. I was like, shit.
Oh, my God.
I was like,
no.
In
girl.
the cafeteria?
That's how we pull girls in Baldwin.
Yeah.
Giving
No, it's
Baldwin a
not.
bad name, man.
Represent that.
Giving Baldwin a bad name out here. Come on,
Right,
man.
not in 87.
Nah, it was 90s era. 90s era, bro.
I would hope so.
No, I'm not going to claim that at all.
Yeah. All right. Listen, anyway. All righty. So speaking of the whole wide-eyed effect, so the New York Jets, they have a new head coach, goes by the name of Adam Gase.
That's right.
And, like I said, the pun was included because, before we get into who he is, what he brings to the table, that press conference was just like out of this world.
Bananas.
Oh my gosh. It kind of threw me off.
So we were saying before we came on that I know that the floating taco meme is out there and it's getting a lot of traction.
Sure.
I saw that before I actually saw the press conference. Somebody had sent it to me, and I thought that they had altered his eyes to make it look like that.
Yeah,
And then when I saw the undoctored footage, I was like, oh man, his eyes were really like that.
Yeah.
How has that never come up before? Like the guy has done umpteen press conferences. How, was this out of the ordinary? Does anybody have any insight into that?
I don't know. I'm not an ocular doctor or
ophthalmologist.
Myopic, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I saw it though. I saw the news conference and I looked at it and I was like, what the heck is going on? Like I didn't know the memes were going to be like the way they are with the taco meat going across the screen per se, but I knew that they were going to have a field day. And you have the New York media, which is totally different from down there in Miami. So, you're like in another country when you're down there in Miami as far as the media is concerned. So I can imagine. I can only imagine what he would look like after a loss, like the first loss we have. The media is going to be flooded. They're going to be looking for his eyes to be all over the place. I think one of the things that saves him normally is that he has a hat on. So normally after the game or during the game, he has a hat on or whatever, from what I understand. So that all the pictures that you see online is him with a hat on. So that's probably why you don't see the eyes as much of a focus.
He wears sunglasses during the games?
No, he doesn't. But the hat, I don't know. The hat, it seems to help. I don't know.
I mean, it looked like he was on Ritalin or something like that, like some serious ADHD stuff. I don't know. I mean, like Brandon said, I'm not an ocular doctor.
Ocular doctor.
Exactly.
You are really revealing your ignorance right now.
Yeah.
You know what?
Real scientific over here right now.
Yeah, you know what? That was done on purpose.
Sports and the culture collide, not science.
That was done on purpose. How about that?
I hope so.
Yeah.
On purpose. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Hey, listen. Let's move on to. All right. So we have Adam Gase.
Yeah,
all right.
we do.
McCagnon, he hires him.
Sure.
Okay. Let's talk about the positives first. Let's just give him a fair and balanced, as best as we can, kind of observation.
B, do you have a positive? I didn't think you had any. You go first. This is going to be short.
You know what? I'll go first. The positive is
Wow,
searching.
Wow, searching. Right. Look at
Okay,
the box.
hey,
Look at the thing swirling.
Swirling. He's going to be deliberate in his attempt to coach up Sam Darnold and make Sam Darnold the best that he knows how to make him. But now that's the positive. But in my opinion, he is most probably going to be neglecting everything else. We hired Greg Williams as a defensive coordinator, who I'm not really a fan of, but he said that Greg Williams is going to be the head coach of the defense.
Yep.
No, I don't want him being the head coach of the defense. There's one head coach, and maybe it's just semantics, maybe it's just words, but I don't even want to hear that kind of a talk. If you're the head coach, be the head coach. And this is why in past episodes I was pushing for people of the likes of John Harbaugh, who is a great leader of men. And you guys have heard me say this a bunch of times. He's not Mr. Offense, he's not Mr. Defense, but he is Mr. Leader. And that's what I want. Like, you can be a great leader and you can hire someone to coach up Sam Darnold. You can be a great leader and bring in a great defensive coordinator. Be a great leader and manage the game well and just keep it moving. And I just think that he's going to be too fixated on the offense and neglecting other head coach responsibilities. And I think that's where his shortcomings are going to be. And I think he's going to be paralyzing the team by, it's like paralysis by overanalysis. And I think that's what he's going to do on the offense. He is a coach that was let go by the Dolphins with a sub 500 record. And his claim to fame is basically, he coached Peyton Manning. He coached up Cutler. He coached up Tannehill. First of all, Peyton Manning didn't need to be coached up anymore. He just needed a good offense. Okay, he may have provided them a good offense, but it's not like he showed Peyton Manning how to be an even better quarterback. And then what did he do with Tannehill? And what did he do with Cutler? These guys aren't great quarterbacks.
Cutler had a good year. Cutler had his best year under him. So, I mean, just if you're talking about what he did with Cutler, Peyton Manning had his best year under Adam Gase as well.
Right.
But the one thing I can say is that he didn't work with somebody that was as young as Sam Darnold. Tannehill at least had a couple of years under his belt prior to Adam Gase coming on board. But, I mean, as far as him getting the most out of the talent that he had at the quarterback position, it looks like he was able to do that.
Let me ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
In 1999, coming off a run to the AFC Championship with Vinny Testaverde, Parcells comes into the year. Testaverde tears his Achilles, and he has to do the whole year with Ray Lucas as the quarterback.
Rick Meyer first, but he didn't put Ray Lucas in soon enough, in my opinion.
Right.
But yeah.
Yep.
Same point that I'm getting at though.
Yeah.
Did we not give Bill Parcells a mulligan for that year based on the QB situation?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. So with that said, I think that you had the same situation with Gase from year 1 into year 2. He goes 10-6. He makes the playoffs in a tough division. And we all know that we have the team that's playing in the AFC Championship today has won our division for over 10 years straight. It's a tough division to come out of as a wild card. So he does that in his first year. He does that mostly with a running game, with a rookie running back. And then he has a catastrophic quarterback injury the next year, and he has to bring in an out-of-shape Jay Cutler, and I guess Matt Moore was the other guy that he got going there. And his year did not finish out well. So you come to the third year this year, which I guess is the rubber year of it. You see what happened this year. Second best team in the division, right or wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And Tannehill was hurt. And Tannehill was hurt this year too. I think he missed like three or four games as well.
Better
Right.
better record than everybody but New England. Beats New England 1 out of 2 times.
The
And
AFC East isn't known to be such a great division. It's just the Patriots.
Sure.
Everybody else pretty much stinks. But
yeah, but
okay.
that's what happens with the top heavy league, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But I understand that. I understand that sentiment, Brandon. But looking at it from the perspective of, is he better than what we had? The absolute answer is yes. Is he
Agreed.
better than what we've had in the past?
As a coach or as an offensive mind, you're saying?
I'm talking about
I would say both.
I'm talking about both. Absolutely. I mean, look, he's the first head coach that we've had with prior experience since Parcells. Is that correct?
I think
so. I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. I mean, he's the first head coach that we've had that hasn't been on the defensive side of the ball since Grow.
Yep.
Am I right?
This guy's done his research, man, and then he's like putting it as a question.
Grow was a defensive guy.
Not since Grow, because Grow was a linebackers coach.
He was a defensive
coach. Okay. Maybe he did wrong research. My bad.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But the point that I'm making is that it's been a very long time.
Sure.
All of that research was done on the fly. So it's been a very long time, right?
Yeah.
So how many he's had significantly more wins than the last in division than our last head coach.
Sure.
Right? It's an improvement. Is it the improvement that we wanted? Had from the perspective of, would we have felt better with the choice if it was out of division? The answer, we check the box, yes. If it was a situation where he had another job prior to acquiring the Jet job and after getting fired, say he took another offensive coordinator position and then came to the Jets, would we have felt better about it?
Depends on what the results of that season.
What the results were, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. But say the results were mediocre, at best, 8-8. But the quarterback developed, wherever he was. I think our perspective on it would be a little different.
If he were coming as an offensive coordinator, I think that you judge head coaches with records, wins and losses, and coordinators you judge with their respective performances as far as either defense if you're a defensive coordinator or offense when you're an offensive coordinator. How did your quarterback perform? How much offense did they gain? Points per game, that kind of thing. That's how I judge offensive coordinators.
And
can I? So they also got to judge a head coach based on context too. Like, the wins. If you went purely on wins and losses without any context as far as
nobody would get a job.
Yeah, I mean,
so I get it.
Lenny Wilkins had more losses than he had wins, and he's the winning coach.
I understand that. I understand that, but it's not purely on that. But there is a hierarchy of things. You know what I'm saying? And for head coach, So for head coaching, I look at that with more weight than say how I would look at an offensive coordinator and how their offense performed.
Yes.
And I think that's why I look more favorably at someone like a John Harbaugh, who is more of a defensive-minded / special teams coach than he is like as an offense. And his teams have never really been these offensive juggernauts at all. But he wins, and he's consistently in the playoffs. And then if he's not in the playoffs, he's right on the cusp. And his
so you mentioned Harbaugh, but again, so the idea is, who else was out there that we would have wanted, that we could have realistically acquired?
Let me jump in there.
Yeah,
so I would say this. I'm behind you, Kerry, as far as he's a better coach. I think we're better on both sides of the ball, with Greg Williams on the defensive side and with Adam Gase on the offensive side versus what we had as far as coordinators before. So it's definitely an improvement from what we had. My only issue with the hire was, could we have gotten somebody better when you had the Matt Rule out there and you had McCarthy out there? And the way the news came out that the Jets wanted to select the coordinators or pick from a certain list of coordinators, when you had McCarthy out there who checked all of the boxes, somebody that not only had head coaching experience, offensive side of the ball, focus, has been a head coach and won, not only winning regular season games, playoff games, and then a Super Bowl. So he checked every single box that I think all four of us would look at from a head coaching hire. But he didn't take the job, or maybe the Jets didn't offer the job because, from what we understand, that he had to pick from a certain list of coaches as far as his assistants are concerned. And
also,
So crazy.
the Jets didn't want to pay him what he was making in Green Bay.
which is crazy too. I mean, what are you talking about? You have a job here. You have somebody that has all this experience. He seems to be the number one candidate that you should look at, and you don't want to pay him what he's already getting paid in Green Bay versus going to New York. It just, that doesn't make any sense. So then it falls back to the whole McCagnon thing and us not really feeling secure with him as a general manager, questionable decision making, and him being part of the decision making process in this. So that's where it kind of gives you a sour taste in your mouth. I think Gase was overall, I think, a good hire. Will be better on offense than we have been. I think it's good for Donald. Greg Williams, I think, will be better on defense than what we had. But that piece of it just makes the hire taste a little bit sour to me.
I hear you. Let me just jump right back in there. So I hear what you're saying, B. But the caveat for me here now is, remember that that text that I sent you guys in our BKBK podcast group chat. They were talking about the hiring of Greg Williams, and it seems like these two personalities of Gase and Greg Williams could potentially be like an oil and water mix.
Sure.
They haven't coached anything. They haven't done anything yet together. And they're already calling out that these two guys may be bumping heads. And this is even before he was officially hired, but it was still the hiring was still inevitable. But you know, they're calling it out now. They're calling it out now, and that to me, it's like that's.
But that,
that's like a red flag.
But that has more to do with, just their past. I mean, not that they have issues with one another yet at this point. It was the fact that in the past, Greg Williams has rubbed people the wrong way. Adam Gase has rubbed people the wrong way. But it doesn't necessarily mean that when they're, together, that will necessarily happen. But I get it.
That's true.
It could potentially happen.
That's also why people steer away from certain people. Like, to me, Greg Williams is basically the defensive coordinator. He's like the defensive version of Todd Haley. People get rubbed wrong by Todd Haley. He's also a pretty good offensive coordinator, but that's only going to go so far if you can't get past a certain point as far as being able to communicate with people or get along with people. I mean, it's a team, right? It's an organization. It's a franchise. You're going to have to be able to work with people so that you can kind of produce the most amount of team flourishing, so to speak. And I'm worried about that. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but the flags are out there. The red flags are out there, and I'm legitimately worried about it. And I also know that Adam Gase, he had trouble and issues and personality issues with the owner of the Miami Dolphins. They got into screaming matches,
That's probably why he got fired.
That's probably why he got fired.
Yep.
Because he didn't really deserve to get fired, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Based on performance,
Based on performance, he at least deserved another year, and he probably burned his bridges a little bit. We've been talking all year about how we have such an undisciplined, penalty-filled team. If we get Greg Williams in here and Adam Gase with those oil and water personalities or whatever, I do know that they're both going to be good at their job professionally, and they're also not going to let things slide. They're going to hold people accountable for the things they do and don't do.
Right.
Gase has been known to sit people disciplinary wise. Greg Williams, we know, will get in somebody's grill and cuss them out and stuff like that. And whether that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, it's more when you're getting at the highest level of things. Do you have people in your upper management that know how to get the job done? Do they have a track record for getting the job done? Adam Gase has taken an offense to a Super Bowl and won it. Greg Williams has taken teams to he has taken a team to a Super Bowl. Am I right or wrong?
The Saints.
So he was the DC with the Saints. I'm sure that Sean Payton did exactly the same thing that Gase is presenting here. Whereas Sean Payton is more about the offense. He would rather have somebody that he could give the defense to and just say, go and do it. I don't know if that's his relationship with Dennis Allen now with the current situation that they have, but he's all about offense, Sean Payton.
Yep.
He's calling the offense. If you're an OC on any level, you're going to be limited in the amount of stuff that you can do defensively. I mean, from my experience as a head coach and being an OC at the same time, if you're really planning your offense and your game plan, you're limited in the amount of defensive prep you can do either way.
Well, the one thing I would say is that we don't want the Rex Ryan piece of it, where he's not involved at all, even understanding what's going on that side of the ball. So at some point, he has to be not just the offensive coordinator, but the head coach of the team. So,
and that's where the question mark for me comes in.
Yeah, so that, so I understand. So there has to be a blend. There has to be some sort of balance between what that is. But at some point, you have to understand what's going on the defensive side of the ball so you can play complementary football.
Well, if you think about it, if you're the head coach, you're going to have to do some sort of clock management stuff, unless you have an assistant that's going to be a specific clock management person, the Jimmy Ray type. We've thrown that out there a couple times.
Jimmy Ray.
But I think personally, that it's easier to be an offensive head coach that can manage the clock while you're on defense than it is to be a defensive head coach that is trying to manage the clock when you're on offense.
Agreed. Agreed.
There's a lot of flow that goes with that. If you're running an up tempo, you're honed in on the clock and everything like that. So.
And he kicked our butts, man. I mean, out of the 6 games, they won 5, right?
Yeah,
they handled us. So, that as far as what the leadership of the Jets saw over the last 3 years is that Miami was prepared to play us and beat us 5 out of 6. And we never, I never really felt like they were better from a talent perspective.
That's not saying that much, though. I mean, we're the Jets. Like,
I thought they were worse at a talent perspective. If you
we're over here giving the Cleveland Browns their first win in like 18 months, that kind of stuff. So, all right, fine, the Dolphins have owned us, but that's not really saying that much, to be honest with you. We haven't turned that corner to be considered a consistently good team. We can lose to anybody. We have,
we've been a consistently bad team.
We have.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, what it says is that, if everything being equal, then from a coaching perspective, maybe that's the difference between them winning 5 games and losing 5 games to us. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that we weren't talent-wise better. They weren't talent-wise better than we were, but clearly the sidelines, they were better than us 5 out of 6.
By the way, guys, the Rams and the Saints are tied up at 20.
Wow.
The Saints are driving with 1:49 left. I think they're on like the 15 or 16-yard line, 3rd and 10.
Come on,
their own or the opposing teams.
What they're marching. They're either going to be
about to score.
They're on. Okay. So they're on.
They're going to score something.
Okay.
It looks like the Rams should have an opportunity to get the ball back if they got some timeouts left, but whatever.
The Rams have 1 timeout left.
But look, in addressing, Greg Williams, specifically what Kyle said about having a disciplined defense. Look, our defense has talent on it. I think the biggest part of where we failed, where the Jets defense failed was with regard to preparation and execution. And missed assignments. And I think a lot of that will be cleaned up by Greg Williams. And then the other part of it is, the new head coach, Gase, is supposed to be a developer of quarterbacks. And that should be our number 1 priority. And if he does nothing but develop this quarterback, then he has done 75% of his job.
Let's say too, like with quarterback development, I'll just pop this in there, and then I didn't mean to interrupt anybody.
No, go ahead,
but I guess the result is going to be, is the quarterback better off or better at his position than when the coach came in?
Absolutely.
Because we're talking about, he's in year 2 of a pro development. he's not an undeveloped quarterback. It's just how will he develop as far as the speed and the philosophy of the pro game, like Goff and like some of the other young guys, Pat Mahomes, Wentz. I don't even think we could put Pat Mahomes in the same category as these other guys because he's just super special and he does things that defy logic. But if you look at Wentz and you look at Goff, those guys took a little bit of time to warm up.
And the Houston quarterback too,
Deshaun Watson.
You love that.
Deshaun Watson in the same category as them,
as Wentz and Goff. I put Deshaun Watson better as ranked higher than Goff, but not as much as Wentz. A healthy Wentz.
Yeah, I would put him in the next level.
Yeah, I would too.
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I put him in. As far as there, I would put him right where Brandon put him. Yeah, my opinion.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, we're getting off topic though. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Brandon, you were going to say something?
Yeah. Here's the thing, and then after this, I think we should move on. But my thing is, here's the big question, or it's probably a two-part question. One, did Gase hire Greg Williams or did Maccagnan? And if Maccagnan hired Williams because he has that because he wanted that autonomy, and maybe that's why he didn't hire McCarthy. That's the big thing. Like, if he hired Williams, then I'm anticipating that there could be problems as far as coaching chemistry with these two, and hopefully we won't get into a pissing contest, so to speak, with each coach.
Well, I'll say this:
why would we think that Gase would have an expectation? Why would we have an expectation that Gase hired Williams when none of the other coaching candidates were able to hire their own coordinators?
It's a question. I don't know. I mean, we don't know if they have a relationship or whatever at all. But I'm leaning towards him not having anything to do with Williams' hire. But I'm not excluding it either. I think it was purely a Maccagnan pick, but I don't have any evidence to prove otherwise. So
I agree with Brandon, because I think that if it was Gase that was deciding, it would have been Vance Joseph, and that would have made the most sense.
I agree.
He was available, and that they have a history together, and that they're friendly. And
this is why we need to watch out. And that's my overall point, and I'll just leave it there. But go ahead, Kyle.
Well, I'll say this. Go ahead, Kyle.
Just one last thing is that I think that determines whether the answer to that question determines whether Maccagnan's a lame duck or not.
Sure.
And I think he's a lame duck.
Sure.
I don't think that there's any the Jets might be trying to save some money or something like that by keeping him for another year. I think that he's probably a lame duck.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. The one good thing that came out of all of this is that he's married to this decision right now. He helped pick Gase. He helped pick Greg Williams. So at the end of the day, if it flames out, he's out of here too, which I would be happy to see.
I wish, I totally understand where you guys are coming from, but that bothers me even more because it's like you're giving him another chance. He could potentially be labeled as a lame duck, but you're going to give him that title while giving him $106 million.
Yo, B, we've been talking about this. I can't. I can't. There's nothing I can say at this point.
I know. But it's just me just thinking out loud about it. And it's like, this is bad timing. Like, we should have,
let him go. Cut bait. Just start from scratch, man.
They should be listening to the BKBK podcast.
Absolutely.
This is the guy that
Tune in.
Kevin Smith.
We're on Apple Podcasts, baby. BKBK. You know what I mean? Chris Johnson, check us out, baby.
Come on. And you know who they should have hired? They should have hired Louis Riddick.
That's right.
GM, baby.
That's right. We'd have who we have, Kyle, is a quarterback right now?
If we got Louis Riddick as our
GM,
who would be our quarterback? Yeah, do you know?
It'd probably still be Darnold.
No,
it wouldn't.
It would have been your man.
It would have been Mahomes.
It would have been Mahomes.
Oh well,
he's a Mahomes lover.
that you just made me like Louis Riddick a lot more.
That's
I'm
right.
I'm more of a Daniel Jeremiah guy, but that's neither here nor there. I like both of them actually. In all seriousness, I think they have really high acumen when it comes to player development. Also, Bucky Brooks. I like Bucky Brooks too.
Acumen.
Yeah, high acumen, high football IQ.
That's right.
What?
He's really quite astute, actually.
Yeah, the Rams look like they are not gonna pull a Minnesota
I didn't
Vikings
think
here.
so.
But there was a very questionable no PI call that would have kept the
face
Drive
mask.
drive going before. But they're up 3 right now, 22 seconds.
Saints are up 3.
Yeah,
Copy that. All right.
third and 6 for the Rams.
All right. So, guys, as we move on, here's the next bit of business. Here's the question.
What is it?
Is the free agency picture getting any clearer? The season's been over for a couple weeks now.
It's getting worse.
No.
It's getting worse, huh, B?
It's getting worse. It's getting worse. So you got
March 13th.
You know what's going to kill us? What's going to sink us? 2 words: franchise tag.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
So
is.
D Ford franchise tag. I sent you another player as well. I mean, it's going to be tough, man. These edge rushers don't get on the market because they're like as important to the defense as a quarterback is to the offense.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough, man, and which falls back on what we talk about all the time is Maccagnan and his lack of having the cupboard being bare right now with the lack of talent and draft picks. So that's where it becomes frustrating right now when we've been talking about some of these players that, man, we could bring this one in and that one in, but it looks like we're not going to be able to bring any of them in if they use the franchise tag, which they're able to do. So it's going to be tough for us to put together a team and really with $100 million. The last thing I want to do is spend that money on players that don't deserve it.
We're going to end up only spending 20 because there's no one out there.
No, Maccagnan, it's the problem. So Maccagnan is going to be under pressure. Let's go back to the lame duck piece. Under pressure to bring in people that he believes will potentially get him to a winning season and a winning team here. And then you're going to end up with players that Tremaine Johnson, perfect example.
Tremaine Johnson's the perfect example.
He's a perfect example of that.
God.
We're going to
the market dictating what you do.
Exactly.
Not who the best player is.
Exactly.
Or the best player that'll actually sign with you.
Exactly.
Well, guys, for the most part, free agents that are on the market that are available are the ones that their own team really did not want.
Yep.
So, most times, 80% of the time, they're not going to be or have the same production that you assume that they had or are going to project to have, when they come to your team. So, those guys that end up staying with their own teams are the ones that the teams really want to keep there. And Brian talked about it. It's the D Fords that'll probably get franchise tags. DeMarcus Lawrence, who we know will absolutely get franchise tagged.
Yep.
Even though he's a mouth, he has a mouth on him.
It's also the position they play is a premier position. As far as the edge rusher and stuff like that. By the way, the Rams just tied it. It's going into OT.
Wow. Wow.
There's 15 seconds left in regulation.
That's big.
But I would say that we are going into OT right now.
That's big. Who's your money on? Who's your money on? Just real quick, just to go. Who's your money on? It's tied up right now.
Drew Brees. I'm going with the Hall of Fame.
Drew Brees, and he's home. It's 0-0 game.
I'm gonna go Rams just to do it. Why not?
Wow.
Oh, here we go.
I don't think Goff is clutch yet. I
don't either, but why not?
Well, he got him in the field goal range. Which is pretty good. He did it in less than 2 minutes. So,
but guys, what I would also say is that with regard to the free agency, we project to draft an edge rusher at 3. There are 3 guys that are sitting there at the top 3 spots that are on the defensive line, either interior or on the edge, that are difference makers. That could be a DeMarcus Lawrence, that could be D Ford type or esque. So, the idea is if we don't have these guys available to us in free agency, then the natural progression is to draft one of these guys. The problem that I have, and I've expressed this over probably the last 3 months when it looked like we were going to get a top pick, is that the idea of trading back and acquiring more assets because we don't have a second round pick as a result of trading for our quarterback. So absent of some miracle happening where we can acquire an edge rusher and an offensive lineman in the first 2 rounds, where us staying put, what do?
We absolutely have to trade down. We got to friendly up with the Giants who are looking to get Hoskins
and the Jags.
or maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars, or
but
maybe
Hoskins could be had at 6.
Denver Broncos.
That's the issue that I have with the Giants.
What's that?
Haskins could be had at 6.
I don't think so.
I thought you guys were talking about Keith Hoskins.
Oh yeah, we're still Baldwin. We're throwing out Baldwin names. I know.
Haskins will not be there at 6. Let's be clear about that. Haskins will not be there at 6.
If he's not going to be there at 6, then that means that then somebody's going to make a play for that third pick, for our third pick,
or it might be pick number 2, which is a problem. So that's kind of where it becomes worse. It becomes a problem. Now, what I would say is that the Kyler Murray getting into the draft helps us.
That helps us.
Yeah, exactly, because that's another opportunity for somebody to try to jump up in order to grab him.
And that quarterback from Duke as well, his stock is rising a little bit as well. So all these quarterbacks being available and potential first rounders, that helps us.
It does.
You know what drives up the value of the quarterback at Duke is that it's Cutcliffe that is his coach. And Cutcliffe is the guy that developed the Mannings. So he was with Peyton Manning at Tennessee, and he was with Eli at Ole Miss. So I think that kind of adds to the luster of the quarterback as far as bringing up the acumen and the IQ again. I didn't see Duke play this year at all, so I haven't really seen much film on him, but they are saying a lot of good things about him.
Don't ask Matt Cohen about him. He'll talk him up too much.
The Dookie.
I'd draft Zion with the 3rd pick in the NFL draft. I'd put him anywhere.
I would too.
Wide receiver. Make him an edge rusher.
Yeah.
Nice tight end out there, baby.
All of that, yeah. I'll put him in wide receiver too, that big David Boston type. Just better. And no juke.
Long biceps.
Yeah, long biceps.
So how about the fact that we're switching to a 4-3? Does that make the folks, let's say we end up staying at 3, does that make the folks at the top of the draft a little bit more, as far as a fit is concerned, fit a little bit better on our team versus if we were still running a 3-4?
Good question, babe.
They're 4-3 guys. Those edge rushers are 4-3 edge rushers.
Yeah,
they're not.
Josh Allen is that guy on the 4-3 edge.
I think the big question when you're evaluating those guys is, does he play with his hand on the ground, or does he play with no hand on the ground and drop into coverage like some of the 3-4 linebacker is more of the Lawrence Taylor type that can do all of it. Carl Banks type, whereas the 4-3 guy who's a D end 5 technique, he has to primarily rush the passer, and he's only going to drop when it's like a dog, like a zone blitz type of deal.
Right.
That also you sent the thing about Gerald McCoy,
yep.
And I started thinking about, is Gerald McCoy a 3-man front D tackle? Is he like a 0 technique, like a nose, or is he like a true 3 technique, like Warren Sapp was?
I've always known him as a 3 technique in a 4-3 defense.
Well, I think that we already have a 3 technique if he stays, and that's the Big Cat. The Big Cat is a classic 3 technique.
Yeah.
What we'll need is a 1 technique, because Henry Anderson's going to get he's going to get schemed out again.
Yep.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but that's what that article that we talked about with the conversion from a 3-4 to a 4-3 and what Greg Williams might mean.
Yeah.
It wasn't very. Me and Brian were talking about that. That's a very sobering article because we don't have a lot of talent for that 4-3 at all. We have a whole bunch of 3-4 D linemen, and Henry Anderson is one of them.
And what about the linebackers? Where's that going to put Darren Lee?
It's better.
It's actually better for him.
Yeah,
weak side.
On the weak side.
Yep.
And then
4-3 will.
4-3 will. So then the Mike will be Williamson.
Yeah.
And then we'll keep on the strong side. What's his name? Jenkins.
Yep.
Jenkins is not. But see,
he's not built for that. He's not built for that.
Can we put Jenkins at Sam?
No,
I don't know because he's not an edge rusher.
Nope.
Right.
He's a run defender.
He had 7 sacks this year, though. I think. But also, I think we should bring in someone, since we're going to a 4-3, someone like a Dante Fowler, who we didn't speak about yet today. I think that he would, keep his hand in the dirt. He could be that defensive end.
I just don't want to overpay for him, B. That that kind of goes back to what we were saying before, because I don't feel like he's on the same talent level as a D Ford, but he might command as much per year, on the free agency market. So that's kind of my problem or hesitation.
Well, hopefully, he still has that stock because he was the 3rd pick in the draft a number of years ago. Hopefully, it was just his attitude that was preventing him from developing. But I don't know. It's hard. Like this offseason, this free agency period is really hard. This is a tough one. I feel like there's just not enough talent out there, and then the people that are talented, they're all going to get franchised.
I wonder what they're going to do with some of the younger guys that were playing a lot for us this year, like Frankie Louvu and Brandon Copeland, because they did play pretty well when they were on the field. Jenkins played pretty well in the role that he had.
Neville played well too.
Yeah, Neville Hewitt.
Yep.
I don't know where they're going to go, whether they're going to look to fill some holes with like Greg Williams type players, like guys maybe from Cleveland and other stops that he was at that, how some coaches, they'll just bring in their guys.
Yep.
And if that's going to be the case, or if it's going to be a case of we are going to go out and draft guys. I mean, you take a really big chance when you draft an edge rusher in the first few picks.
You do.
That's a boom or bust thing. A lot more so than a tackle. The Jonah Williams guy, we picked that guy. If we have him at 3, I would love to trade back and get a 2nd round pick. Don't get me wrong, but you look at how well the Colts did this year. Now that they have an offensive line, it's a big difference maker for a quarterback and a running game. Drew Brees' pick.
Yeah, and we don't have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball either, and we haven't really spoken too much about that either as far as just weapons. So, I mean, we have a lot to do. Again, Le'Veon Bell is one of the people that are up there. We'll see what ends up happening with him. Kareem Hunt, it looks like, is out there, and a lot of teams, or some teams, are looking at him potentially. It looks like he's done a lot to with his anger issues, going to a coach or therapy every day. He's going to be suspended for X amount of games, maybe 4 to 6 to start the season. So do you take a look and kick the tires on that? But we need weapons. And right now we just, where are we going to get them from? Right. So that's kind of where we're at.
And it looks like the investigation into the Kareem Hunt incident will be completed by beginning of free agency. So that's going to be something else that we're going to have to explore and investigate. So, I think we broached that issue a couple of times, in prior podcasts. Not that I want to belabor the point, but we definitely are lacking on the offensive side of the ball, and specifically in players that, can be game changers, can break a game open. either from the running back position or the slot position, receiver position, or the offensive line position. So I think we definitely focus on defense and our lack of edge rushing and what we've gotten from in terms of production from that position in the past several years. But again, I think we need to invest in that offensive line first.
I'd spend some money on Golden Tate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Well, you
Me
saw
too.
yours
I'd
on
spend
my
some money
list.
on Golden Tate.
I think we're all in agreement on
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Yep.
But would Golden Tate be a number one?
No.
Yeah, I think you expect him to be an upgrade from Curse, but
Yes.
you don't expect him to be a number one. And because you have so much money, you could probably overpay for that and not feel too bad about it. I really feel good about the value of Enunwa on the deal that we signed him on. If he stays healthy, I think he's still trending upward. And if he gets a healthy year in there, he could be a game breaker. We had a lot of discussion about this on the text stream. I don't know how much you guys got into it last show. I didn't really hear you guys talk about it on the last show, but I for one think that he has low end wide receiver one potential. But again, health is always going to be part of that equation. So we got that locked up. Maybe we go out and get a Golden Tate or somebody of that ilk in free agency, and we don't have to worry about that in the draft. What do you guys? So, would you guys rather go after a wide receiver in free agency or in the draft?
Well, I say, we've been talking about him. I'm gonna beat the drum. All right.
Mhm.
So Le'Veon Bell, definitely Golden Tate, and I think in the first round, this is my opinion. You gotta Marquise Brown it. That's my opinion. When you go out there and now you got weapons and you got a quarterback that has weapons to throw to. And then you try to, scheme together in maybe by trading back, you get that offensive tackle or guard or top offensive lineman in the second round. And then you have, your third round picks or whatever else you fill out the rest of the roster with those guys. But that's my opinion. We need people because even with Golden Tate, even with Le'Veon Bell, you really don't have anybody on the outside that, you got, you're just not weapons. You don't have a lot of weapons, man. Marquise Brown is that guy, man. I'm telling you.
So this is my issue with Brown, and we talked about this on the text stream too. I think that he's light. He's a Deshaun Jackson type to me.
Sure.
I've never really liked Deshaun Jackson that much, and it's all about speed. He had top end speed in college football, and most of his highlights are flat out, I'm going to beat you with speed over the top, or I'm going to get the ball in space and I'm going to score on you that way. When he got the injury and his speed was taken away from him, he was pedestrian. So that's not to knock the guy for being hurt. All right. I think he played hurt in the playoff games.
Brian is always like those Brandon Cooks type of receivers,
Tyreek Hill, baby. Tyreek Hill. You know what I mean?
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
True.
Capitalize on putting these guys in motion and running underneath routes, vacating zones so that the receiver can run across the zones. Look, you got to be creative. But again, what our offense did a lot of the time was run routes and then sit in a zone as opposed to putting pressure on the defense and running across zones where the defenders had to either chase them or sit and wait for them. Just no creativity there.
Adam Gase is going to put pressure on the defense. This is what I think. And I was very cold on Le'Veon Bell this whole time. And now going into this conversation, like the Marquise Brown versus signing somebody like Le'Veon Bell. You sign Le'Veon Bell, you don't have to sign a number one. Well, let's say you sign Le'Veon Bell and you sign Golden Tate. You kind of have a 1A and 1B situation, especially if Enunwa is getting better. Because you can use Le'Veon Bell on the field at the same time as you put an Elijah McGuire on the field in the slot or whatever. The guy catches like a number one receiver, that volume wise. At least the last time he played. Who knows what'll happen the next time? But I'm warming up to that a little bit just because we have all the money and now we have a different coach, and that coach knows how to both run the ball and pass the ball. To say that Gase is a pass only guy, I think is not really looking at the body of work.
It's not accurate. It's not accurate.
Yeah, I'm kind of warming up to Le'Veon as well, even though he bothered me and I really didn't want him, but I'm kind of warming up to him. If he comes next year, he'll be 27 years old, so he'll be in the prime. He'll be the top 2 or 3 best running backs in the league.
Yep.
I disagree with Brian and that receiver from Oklahoma. I would more like to focus on that receiver from Arizona State, N'Keal Harry. I just want to see his numbers in the combine, but he's got great hands. If he runs a 4.5 or below, because he's 6'4", 212 pounds. He's a big red zone target. If he runs a 4.5 or below, that's the guy I'm going for because he's already got really good hands.
What if he runs a 4.6? Then what?
What if he runs a 4.6? Then I may not want him as high. I'd take him in the second round, potentially. But if he runs a 4.5 or below, I'll take him. I would really love to be able to trade back, grab a pass rusher or an O-lineman, depending on what it is. We could probably get a better value if we were to get an O-lineman in the second round, and then get a pass rusher, considering our new defense, with us trading down in the first round. And then from there, maybe seeing what we can do as far as getting a receiver. I definitely want to get to – who's the receiver? Golden Tate. I love him. We can get Le'Veon Bell. And then from there on, we'll see what's up. And you know who I really want in free agency? That center. His name is last name is Paradis, and he is, I think, the second-ranked center in the league, Matt Paradis, and he's a center. And that would help our O-line as well. And then bringing in a rookie, one of the best rookie O-linemen, could just help us just grow once again because I doubt Carpenter's coming back. I never liked Winters. So that's the 2 guards, and then our Spencer Long. We're not going to have him at center, so we need to get another center.
He played better at guard anyway.
Played better at guard anyway.
Absolutely played better at guard.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then Shell, he injured his knee close to the end of the season, and I'm just waiting on an update on his knee. I think that he played pretty well at right guard, but it's still they just never gel together. So we need to protect our quarterback, man. We need to protect our franchise.
Sure.
I'd like to see our draft get us, or draft and free agency get us our at least one starting O-lineman and maybe our 6th and 7th offensive lineman. That would make me feel as though we had a good offensive line draft, because I haven't felt that in the last 4 or 5 years, that we walked away from a draft and said, oh, okay, we got this guy's going to come in right away like a Mangold did or like DeBrickashaw did. I mean, think about that draft and how much of an effect that had on our team for years and years and years. DeBrickashaw Ferguson never missed a start. And then Mangold didn't miss a start until like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, shout out to Kevin Mawai as a finalist for the Hall of Fame.
That's right.
You gotta love it. Let's go.
Gotta love that.
Good guy, Kevin Mawai.
I mean, you talked about that draft where we drafted, 2 offensive linemen. I mean, they were both first-round picks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know that we're going to find or have the ability to choose 2 offensive linemen in the first round.
Didn't we have like 4 first-round picks, though? Didn't we?
That was back when we drafted John
Pennington
Abraham.
too, right?
Pennington, John Abraham, Sean Ellis, and Anthony Becht. That was with the whole Bill Belichick when he left, and then we were able to get a draft pick because of the penalization and stuff. We had 4 first-round picks.
That was Parcells picking those people.
Yeah. So he only went wrong with Anthony Becht. But the other
He didn't
three,
go wrong with Anthony Beck. Anthony Beck started for us for 5 years. He had
Yeah.
bad hands at times, but he wasn't bad. He wasn't terrible.
He wasn't terrible, but I mean, like, he could have gotten. I wouldn't have picked him up. I'll put it to you that way.
Okay.
You know.
But
anyway.
I don't know who else was a tight end in that draft. Oh, by the way, I talked to David Njoku's high school coach in San Antonio last week when I was down there, and he told me that Herndon and Njoku are like super close friends, and that he expected that Herndon was just going to be as good, if not better, than Njoku, probably better, based on what he's hearing from the people down there. And Njoku, I guess, has a bunch of brothers and a sister that are all tremendous athletes too. I think there's one that's in Miami right now playing. But our kid Herndon is going to be good.
Yep, he's already proved it. He's already, he's there, man. So listen, guys, let's round this off. The 2018 season is done. The 2018 season is done. And just to put a button on the 2018 season, we haven't done this in a while. So, B, if you can cue up the tweak me, peak me, because I want to be able to talk about what tweaks me and what peaked me about the entire 2018 New York Jets season.
I got you.
Yeah. Right. All righty. Here we go, folks. All right, guys, this is Tweak Me and Peak Me for the 2018 New York Jets season. If you don't mind, I'm going to start this one off. I'm going to start this one off with tweak. Okay? So basically, what tweaks me out about the 2018 season is basically that it's another wasted season, and I get another year older without a Super Bowl appearance. The Jets need major help on the offensive line, on the edge, for edge rushers, wide receivers, etc. We needed to get a whole new coaching staff and everything like that. And you know what else? We kind of need a new GM as well. But,
can't get everything, right?
I know you can't get everything.
This ain't Christmas.
I know.
Nah.
Oh, and then also, the Jets have a ton of money, $106 million. But, of course, our luck, we we really don't have many options. The options that we have are kind of thin.
We need to get shirts that say "Same Old Jets." That's what we need to do, and
Exactly. So as a result, I don't have the confidence in our front office to make good free agent decisions anyway.
Nope.
Basically, I expect the same outcome in 2019 that we saw in 2018. So that is what is really tweaking me out. Yeah. I mean, and you know what? No one here in this BKBK in Team BKBK can confidently give me a counter argument, because you know that potentially this could definitely happen. So before I get into an even worse mood,
you couldn't get any worse than this.
I know.
Oh,
it gets
God.
lower.
The thing that piques me: Sam Darnold, Jamal Adams, and the special teams. Thank you. Good night.
And we kept the special teams coach.
Yes.
By the way.
Yes, we
Yes,
did.
we did.
We did something right.
I'm going to go next. I'm going to definitely agree with you with regard to what tweaks me. I'm going to start out with that because I'm trying to be optimistic about this hire and about, our 2019 Jets. So yes, absolutely. Donald, I saw some development there. I saw the optimism. I feel optimistic about his development. I feel optimistic about what he is going to end up being for the Jets organization, a face of an organization, and a young face that's going to be there for what did I say? 20 years?
Yes.
It gets longer every time you say it.
Somebody gets his AARP card.
Right. And my 1A peak is Herndon. And Kyle gave me a great segue into why I feel so high about this guy. He's going to be with Donald for maybe not the 15 years that he's going to be here, 20 years that he's going to be here, but he'll certainly be here for a significant period of time. And hopefully that those two can develop into a great quarterback, tight end combination.
That's right.
What tweaks me is the fact that McCagnon is still here.
Sure.
And he is at the helm of the ship of spending this $100 plus million in free agency. And I would hope that he does not spend it the way that he spent it on Tremaine Johnson. And bringing free agents in here that aren't worth the money that we're paying them.
Sucks.
That's what tweaks me.
Yeah.
And the other part of what tweaks me about McCagnon is that I don't agree with this hierarchy. With this hierarchy of, there is no one who's in charge of,
that's the owners though. That's the owners though. Is it
right? I understand that, but I'm saying that tweaks me. That this whole arrangement, this whole marriage tweaks me.
Sure.
I don't like it. There's no accountability there. Who do I talk to? I don't know. Should you talk to McCagnon? I don't know. Should you talk to Gase? I don't know. Should you talk to Woody? I don't know. I don't like it.
He's across the pond. He's across the pond. All right, so I'll go since I'll leave Kyle to last. All right, so man, so what piques me? I mean, it's got to be Sam Darnold. Number one, first and foremost. You got him there. Looks like he could be our franchise quarterback. Finally, right? Finally could have a franchise quarterback after all of these years. I mean, so that makes you feel positive about what the future looks like. Bringing in Gase, I think, will only help his development moving forward. So I'm really optimistic about that piece of it as far as the Jets season is concerned. What tweaks me is that a year later, and I think I have my franchise quarterback, I should be feeling positive, more positive than I felt last year during the offseason. We have more money to spend, right? We have a number 3 pick, which is higher than we had to trade in order to get to the number 3 pick last year, right? Yep. So I should be feeling even better about where we are and the trajectory of the New York Jets, but I don't. I don't. I still think we make these bonehead choices like picking our head coach. And, it was right there. Mike McCarthy was right there. And you didn't close the deal. Like, what? Those are the things that kind of head scratcher type of moves that make you want to get a t-shirt that say same old Jets. Right. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I should feel very positive. Bowles, great guy, but wasn't the right person for the job. McCagnon, I don't know if he's a great guy at all. He barely talks, and I don't think he's the right guy for the job, and he's still here. So that's part of the remnants that makes me not feel good and tweaks me right now.
Things aren't good when you're sitting back as a Jets fan wishing that your team was progressing like the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
Will you stop bringing up the Cleveland Browns, please? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Was it the second time?
Yes.
Yeah. It's really low bar.
Well, you know what? They're better than us. How about that?
They are.
Anyway, go ahead, Kyle.
Then they got Baker.
Yeah.
Another thing I can't argue with you on. I think that the things that tweak me the most are for the whole season, if that's the original question.
Sure.
Is just how undisciplined this team was and how that probably ultimately led to Todd Bowles' firing more so than anything else. His inability to maybe make some changes with friends and stuff like that, like Casey Rogers, when things may not have been working out so well. And then all these guys that got suspensions on our team, that's also another part of this undisciplined thing. I mean, we have Darren Lee who's having probably his best season as a Jet, and then he lost 4 games at the end of the season. for the
he did.
Yeah.
for the PEDs.
PEDs. Yep.
It's like, it can't. It got to the point where when you're seeing so much stuff like that, it's that falls up. So you gotta have somebody to answer for that. I think the GM has a lot to answer for, but he got a reprieve. That whole stuff tweaks me. Just that stuff has to be changed before anything's going to get better. Culture wise, I think you got a couple guys on the peak side that are coming in that might raise the level of accountability. I'm also piqued by Darnold, Elijah McGuire, and Herndon as far as pieces that we have moving forward. Whether we go out and sign another running back like Bell or not, I think Brandon agrees with me on this, that McGuire has the potential to be a starting running back. I think he's flashed that. He might not have all the tools that a guy like Bell has, but there aren't a lot of guys like Bell either. So I think that McGuire has a lot going forward. I think that Herndon is going to be the best tight end that this team has had since Dustin Keller on a consistent basis. I think that we're going to get into a realm that we haven't seen before, where we have a tight end catching 85 balls a year. What did he finish with this year? Was like something in the mid 50s, I think, is what Herndon had in not even a whole 16-game season. So real high on that Herndon deal. I think that offensively, I think we're going to be a lot more creative. So that piques me. This is a guy who, even though his eyes are bugging out all over the place,
I got my eye on you. I got my eye on you.
He is focused. He is focused on being creative on offense, and he has given the division leader, the cream of our division, fits with things that he's done, and he's played well against that team. He knows the division very, very well. I think that's one of the best things that you can get from hiring within the division, is that you're going to have somebody who has scouted the crap out of the division. Yeah. So he not only knows
that's a good point.
He not only knows your opponents, but he knows your personnel really, really well. So, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be the one that's cooking the stew, but he could tell McCagnon, this guy right here, we got him on double moves. This guy, we didn't really like him when, this is a guy that we took advantage of. Where can we look to upgrade? So I think that we underestimate how well a guy in a division knows our roster.
That's true. That's a very fair point.
It is.
I agree with you. there.
Absolutely.
And I'm just so downtrodden. I didn't even think of it that way. So, no, I'm just
despair. Yeah, the level of despair is just
very low. It
really is. So great job, Kyle. That was that kind of piqued me a little bit. So great job, man. That was great. Yeah, man. Oh my goodness. Gee whiz. I kind of needed that, Jets fans. I kind of needed that whole thing, Team BKBK.
That's right.
So listen, guys. Thanks for watching another episode of the BKBK podcast. We want to be able to keep bringing you the latest news and viewpoints of where sports and the culture collide and the New York Jets reign supreme. So keep watching. You can find us on Facebook on our BKBK podcast fan page, Twitter, or on at BKBK.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know. But I will not be. Hey, listen, I can't be stopped. All right, and of course on Instagram at BKBK Podcast, as well as on YouTube. Just type in BKBK Podcast.
Hey,
the like and subscribe button to show the love.
That's right.
And if you can't watch us, you can just listen to us on iTunes. Go to bkbkpodcast.podomatic.com. That's it. Let's go Jets. Let's go Baldwin Bruins. And let's go Team BKBK. And let's go Tussin, because I need some cough medicine. All right? Gee whiz. Yo, B, roll that music.
That's right.
He's winning those gameplay, Bruins.
Oh my gosh.
Tussin. They will roll.
Right. Swallow the cat or something.
I'm gonna go the Jamaican route and rub some white rum on my chest.
Meow. Gosh.
You know, after I guess this is like our 25th or 26th episode.